Enjoy your time here and find peace in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. My father brought his widowed cousin back to the manor. That very night, he sat by the pillow, conversing at length with my mother. Cousin Lily Lu has endured much hardship over the years, please care for her with all your heart. My mother smiled, arranging the newcomer's accommodations with perfect thoroughness. Then, turning around, she personally selected a stunningly beautiful concubine for my father. The entire capital praised my mother for her virtuous and generous nature, and my father was immensely satisfied. Unfortunately, they were all mistaken. Only I knew that my mother desired not only a reputation for virtue, but also my father's life. The day my father brought that destitute and helpless cousin into the manor was a brilliant spring afternoon. He supported the woman's hand as she stepped down from the carriage, his voice holding a gentle caution I had never heard before. Cousin Lily, from now on, this is your home, do not stand on ceremony. That woman was named Lily. She wore a simple white dress, her eyes cast down, her demeanor pitiful. She timidly called out, "Cousin Edward." Her shifting gaze was practically overflowing with dependence and affection. I stood beside my mother, instinctively gripping her sleeve tight. My father's behavior toward this cousin was truly too intimate. I stole a glance at my mother, but her face showed not a trace of displeasure. Instead, she wore a proper and gentle smile, stepping forward to softly take Lily's hand. "Little sister, the journey must have been exhausting. My husband has long mentioned you to me, saying that being alone is not easy for you. It is good that you are here. Rest assured and stay, I will handle everything." My mother's words were gentle, her movements affectionate, and even her eyes shimmered with sincere light. Lily seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, a flush of pink appearing on her face as she whispered, "Thank you, sister-in-law. Little Lily has troubled you." My mother laughed, turning immediately to instruct the butler. "Clean up the brightest guest room in the west wing, the one closest to the main courtyard. For the cousin miss, all her expenses shall follow the standard of a young lady of the manor. Do not delay." Hearing this, my father looked at my mother with eyes full of gratitude and satisfaction. Perhaps he thought his wife was truly virtuous and understood the bigger picture. In the dead of night, because I had eaten half a bowl of fermented rice wine too many during the day, my stomach felt uncomfortable. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, so I got up to take a walk to aid digestion. When I passed the guest room my mother had arranged for Lily, I saw two silhouettes printed on the window paper. Suspicion rose in my heart, so I lightened my steps and leaned close under the window. Then, I heard whispers that I would never forget for the rest of my life. "Cousin Edward, she let me stay under the title of a cousin. Could she have realized something? She absolutely dares not neglect you, not even a little. But when will you finally marry me? Was the separation 10 years ago not bitter enough? I do not want to miss you again. Little Lily, do not fear. No one can separate us anymore, just wait a little longer. It will be soon." That voice was the deep, gentle tone I had been accustomed to since childhood, the voice of my father. But hearing it now, it felt bone-chillingly cold, without a shred of warmth. On the window paper, the two silhouettes gradually leaned close, intertwining inseparably. I stood frozen outside the window, the early spring night wind brushing my neck, making my whole body shiver involuntarily. Suddenly, a rough hand reached out from behind, forcefully covering my mouth. Mama She, who served by my mother's side, pressed close to my ear, her breathing rapid. "Young miss, do not make a sound." My heart pounded wildly in my chest. In that instant, I suddenly realized that my mother likely already knew all of this clearly. My maternal grandmother was in poor health, and she had only my mother as her daughter. My maternal grandparents worried that no one would support her in the future, so they thought that marrying her down to a lower status would make the husband easier to control. My father was the one chosen in this way. That year during the autumn exams, my grandfather served as the education official in Huainan East and went to Qingzhou as an examiner. With just one glance, he took notice of my father. His writing was outstanding, and his family background was clean, so the idea of marrying his daughter to him immediately arose. As for my father, he concealed a crucial matter. In his hometown, he had a childhood sweetheart, a cousin with whom he was about to be betrothed. He verbally agreed to my grandfather, promising that once he passed the doctoral exam, he would come to propose. In the spring, the golden list was announced. My father became an imperial scholar, but there were hundreds of doctors. If he waited for the court's assignment, He feared he would be sent to a remote village to accumulate experience. Entirely thanks to my grandfather's secret arrangements, he was assigned to Guangji County in Qingzhou as the district magistrate, returning to his village in glory. The first thing he did was hastily marry off that cousin, cutting ties cleanly and neatly. 3 years after marrying my mother, I was born. My mother's health was ruined during the difficult labor, and could hardly conceive again. Every time this was mentioned, my father always appeared deeply affectionate. Nessa, health is the most important thing. Having just Vivian is already complete. Outsiders all admired us, saying my mother had married a perfect husband. Relying on that reputation of loving his wife, and with the added assistance of my grandfather, only a few years later, my father was promoted to prefect of Qingzhou. Later, by a stroke of fate, while my mother was out worshipping Buddha, she accidentally saved a noble lady. Who would have guessed that the lady was the wife of the Minister of Rights, and that minister happened to be a student of my grandfather? With support from many sides, my father sailed smoothly back to the capital, becoming an official at the emperor's feet. After entering the capital, my father treated me incredibly well, personally attending to my studies, and cared for my mother with even more meticulous detail. In the social circles of noble ladies in the capital, rumors gradually spread. Some genuinely held my mother's hand and said, "Madame Yang, you are truly blessed. Not only are there no concubines in the manor, but not even a bed-warming maid. You still hold your husband's heart so tightly." Others waved their round fans, their words full of soreness. Is that not so? A man like Master Edward is a devoted lover. Yet, after only 3 short years, my father was secretly committing adultery with another. I grasped my mother's sleeve, my heart filled with doubt. "Mother, how could father become like this?" She gently patted my head. "Vivi, the human heart is the easiest thing to change." I could not help but sigh. "So mother, will you really let only enter the family?" My mother only gave a faint smile, pulling the blanket up for me. "I, Vanessa Meng, am not someone who lets others tear me apart. Do not worry, mother has her own plan. Go to sleep now." Early the next morning, Lily arrived at my mother's courtyard to pay her respects. She did not come alone, she carried a food container in her hand, speaking to my father with a delicate and weak appearance. Little Lily thought that since cousin Edward works so hard on official duties, I woke up early on purpose to stew a pot of snow pear with rock sugar. "This dish is best for the lungs. I just do not know if it suits the rules of my sister-in-law's courtyard." Her words sounded humble, but every syllable showed off her effort while implying that the internal management rules, presided over by my mother, were too strict and lacking in human warmth. I felt annoyed in my heart. My mother, however, only smiled gently. "Little sister, you are thoughtful. Husband, please taste it." My mother pushed the clearly more precious bowl of premium red bird's nest she had brought toward Lily, her voice sincere and without any barrier. "Originally, I stewed this bird's nest for my husband to nourish his body. It was my oversight, not realizing that little sister's body is weaker. If you do not disdain it, please have this bowl of bird's nest." Seeing this, my father's eyes looked at Lily with even more pity, but when he looked at my mother, he was filled with admiration for a virtuous wife. Lily ate the bowl of bird's nest without knowing what it tasted like. A few days later, the manager of the silk shop came to the manor to deliver new fabrics. My mother was holding a piece of trendy misty silk, comparing it against herself. Lily walked over gracefully, glancing at the silk, and sighed softly to my father. "This color truly complements sister-in-law like an auspicious kite in the sky. Unlike little Lily, who is only suitable for wearing simple things, lest people gossip." My father immediately waved his hand and said to the manager, "Give this piece of silk to the cousin miss." The servants were all stunned. Everyone knew that what the madam set her eyes on had never been yielded to others before. I clenched my fists tightly. I saw my mother pause only slightly, then leisurely place the silk into Lily's hands, speaking gently. "Little sister is still young. It is true that you should wear bright colors. It was I whose thinking was not thorough, only caring about what I liked. Take it quickly. In a few days, I will have the embroidery room make a new set of clothes for you." Her words were full of self-blame and concern, which conversely highlighted Lily's pettiness just now. My father nodded in satisfaction, while Lily hugged the silk, the smile on her face somewhat stiff. Everyone in the manor knew my father was accustomed to handling official duties in the study until late. That night, Lily carried ginseng tea and, without needing to be announced, walked directly into the study. She did not come out for a long time. I was anxious as if on fire, pulling my mother's hand to demand we deliver a late night snack, fearing she would take the opportunity to compete for favor. My mother, however, sat firmly under the window embroidering a handkerchief, not even lifting her head. Father is handling official business, do not go and disturb him. Lily is meticulous in thought, with her taking care of him. I am very reassured. Not only did she not go, but she also instructed a servant to go tell the master that she was not feeling well and had retired early. The next morning, my father walked out of the study and saw my mother directing servants to trim the flowers. A glint of guilt flashed in his eyes, and he took the initiative to speak. Madam, you have worked hard. Last night I had important matters to handle, and fortunately, little Lily helped me grind ink. She also stayed up all night. My mother interrupted him, using a handkerchief to gently dust off dust that did not exist on him, her eyes curving into a smile. Husband, what are you saying? That little sister Lily could share your burdens. I am grateful enough. How could I call it hard work? She smiled so naturally and generously that it made my father's hidden thoughts seem somewhat ugly. Lily staying up all night not only failed to exchange for my father's pity but, on the contrary, made him feel ashamed due to my mother's trust and magnanimity. For several consecutive days after, he slept in my mother's room. Lily indeed could not endure it anymore. She made her move. When my mother and I arrived, we happened to catch Lily leaning weakly and softly into my father's embrace, sobbing in a low voice, her shoulders trembling slightly. As soon as she saw us enter, she fell to her knees with a thud, tears and mucus streaming down her face. If my sister-in-law cannot tolerate me, just say it straight. Chasing me out of the manor is better than humiliating me like this. Before my mother could even open her mouth, my father's face had already darkened, his voice carrying a tone of blame. Nessa, little Lily says the servants in the manor are intentionally delaying things and even using words to humiliate her. Did you know about this? My mother sighed softly, her tone remaining as gentle as before. Husband, before cousin entered the manor, you instructed me to take good care of her. After she arrived, all expenses followed Vivian's standard. How have I ever mistreated her, even a little? Lily cried even more miserably. Then it must be those cunning servants acting obediently to your face but rebelling behind your back. Seeing me alone and helpless, they scolded me for having no sense of shame, saying, I stay here pretending to be a young lady. I looked coldly at her sniffling. I understood clearly why she found it hard to speak. The words the servants scolded her with were much uglier than that. After Lily entered the manor, my mother indeed transferred quite a few servants to serve her. These people usually worked in my mother's courtyard, receiving generous tips and spending freely. But what about Lily? She was just someone seeking refuge. Where would she get half a penny for tips? My mother intentionally used the excuse that the cousin miss entering the manor increased expenses, causing the account books to not turn over in time, and firmly delayed the servants' monthly wages for over half a month. Seeing that Lily had neither silver to bribe them nor an official status, the servants gradually began to gossip behind her back. Pa, does she really consider herself a master? It is just a declined family, why put on the airs of a young lady? A widow eyeing the master's bed. Yet she does not even have a title. My mother immediately summoned all the servants in the courtyard, telling Lily to identify them. Wiping her tears, Lily tremblingly pointed out the few who cursed the most viciously. The people named immediately fell to their knees, crying out their innocence continuously. I knew my mother had her own arrangements behind the scenes, but right at this moment, I also wanted to add a flame to this play. I gently tugged at my father's sleeve, looking up with a soft and tender voice. But father, usually Vivi sees that the head maid treats others most gently. Why would she intentionally make things difficult for Aunt Lily? My father looked down at me, his expression softening slightly. Does Vivi really think so? I nodded vigorously, widening my clear, innocent eyes, the eyes that resembled him the most. Sure enough, a flash of suspicion appeared in the depths of my father's eyes. Right at this moment, a managing mama suddenly fell to her knees. Master, madam, please punish me. It is this servant who contradicted the cousin miss the other day. My mother's eyebrows twitched slightly. What did you do? Speak the truth. The mama bowed low, her voice trembling. Since the cousin miss entered the manor, the madam instructed that everything should be served according to the young Mrs. standard. We servants dared not delay 1,000 times over, but that day, the cousin miss insisted that this servant use cloud silk to cut and sew clothes for her. She looked up to glance at my father's expression, then continued. At that time, this servant refused, saying that in the manner, even what the madam and young miss use daily is only shoe silk. As for cloud silk, it has always been used only by princesses and titled ladies of rank. This matter was naturally arranged by my mother. Someone had intentionally revealed in front of Lily that both my mother and I used cloud silk. Hearing this, my mother sighed softly. Oh, it is all my oversight. She turned to Lily, her voice gentle, but every word was clear. The spring banquet is approaching. I had promised to take Sister Lily along. Sister must have wanted to tailor a decent outfit so that she could properly present herself for a match at the banquet. It was my thinking that was not thorough, leaving a girl like you to calculate for yourself. The spring banquet was nominally for viewing flowers, but in reality, it was the most grand matchmaking venue in the capital. Everyone knew that. My father's face immediately sank. Lily panicked in an instant, shrieking, "Sister-in-law, do not speak nonsense about me. I have never thought about remarrying." My mother turned to my father, her tone gentle yet earnest. "Edward, over these years I could not bear you another son or daughter, and my heart has always been tormented. Since coming to the capital, I have always been thinking of ways to find a virtuous concubine for you." Her eyes lightly swept over Lily as she continued. "After Sister Lily arrived, I originally planned to let her enter the manor first with the status of a noble concubine. Wait 2 years, if she gives birth to an heir, we would elevate her to a co-wife. That way, it would fulfill Sister's wish without damaging your reputation in the officialdom." She sighed softly, revealing just the right amount of disappointment. "But at that time," Sister Lily said, "in this life, I swear never to be a concubine, so I had to dismiss that intention. Who would have thought that because of this, I would neglect her?" Hearing this, my father's expression immediately softened, and a flash of emotion even appeared in his eyes. "Nessa, are you really willing to let little Lily be a co-wife?" My mother nodded slightly, her words sincere. "As long as my husband is happy, as long as the Yang family can branch out and flourish, what is there for me to be unwilling about? It is just a pity that Sister Lily does not want it." Lily immediately panicked, hurriedly grabbing my father's sleeve. "It is not like that, Cousin Edward. Listen to me explain." Tears welled up in her eyes. That pitiful appearance would soften anyone's heart. I knew my father was about to waver again. I absolutely could not give her this chance. I took a step forward, gently supporting Lily's arm, my voice clear and bright. "Aunt Lily, do not be sad anymore. We all know Auntie did not intend to lie." I turned to my father, blinking my innocent eyes. Did father not often tell me that a woman getting married must consider carefully and choose someone with upright character? Look at father, your character is so good, and you treat mother so thoughtfully. I smiled at Lily, my voice friendly but allowing no rebuttal. "So, if Aunt Lily wants to take the opportunity of the spring banquet to find a good match, what is wrong with that? It is just that cloud silk. Our manor truly cannot afford to use it. How about I give my shoe silk to Auntie to make clothes?" Lily opened her mouth but not a single word could come out. Facing my innocent and pure smile, she could only awkwardly stand up, her expression stiff to the extreme. Ultimately, my father still favored Lily. Just as he was about to open his mouth to smooth things over and bring this chaotic scene to a close, right at that moment, a clear and graceful female voice suddenly rang out from beyond the moon gate. "Madam, this humble girl has been waiting in the front courtyard for a long time. Hearing the noise in the rear courtyard, I was worried, so I took the liberty to come find you. Please forgive my intrusion." Hearing the voice, my father turned his head, and in an instant, he froze in place. Under the corridor, unknown to anyone when she had arrived, stood a peerless beauty. Her figure was graceful, her eyes contained the warmth of spring. My father's Adam's apple bobbed slightly, and his voice unconsciously softened. "Madam, who is this?" Lily's face turned pale in the blink of an eye. Her posture leaning against my father, which had been soft, immediately became stiff, her fingernails digging deep into her palms. This sudden turn of events completely disrupted her calculation of retreating to advance. My mother responded calmly, though her heart was incredibly clear. She had been waiting for this exact moment. This move had not been in vain. "Husband, previously Cousin Lily refused to enter the family, but I have always been concerned about the matter of your heirs. This is the young lady from a good family I have selected for you. I originally intended for you to see if she pleased you today, but I did not expect the misunderstanding just now to delay things." That girl walked step by step, light as a blooming lotus, arriving before my father. She bowed gracefully. "Greetings, master." When she lifted her eyes, ripples of autumn water stirred, unintentionally evoking boundless charm. Lily saw that my father's mind was hooked in an instant, and she nearly bit through her lip. She had exhausted all her schemes, not only failing to cause discord between my father and mother but now facing a younger, more beautiful rival for favor. My father struggled to suppress the fluttering in his heart, his voice already somewhat hoarse. "Madam, you are truly understanding and reasonable. Everything, just let Madam decide everything." My mother gave a faint smile, her gaze sweeping over Lily's pale face, a cold sneer flashing in her heart. She understood very well. The best way to deal with those who harbor delusional hopes is to let them witness their hope turn into despair with their own eyes. She spoke softly and slowly, but every word was clear. This young lady comes from a clean background. Her father was also a scholar, but unfortunately, their hometown suffered a famine and both parents passed away. She came to the capital alone to seek refuge with relatives but was tricked and sold by dark-hearted kin. I see she is literate, understands etiquette, and her character and appearance are both excellent. There is no one more suitable. She looked at my father, her voice gentle but allowing no refusal. If the husband has no objection, why not bring her into the family today? It would also resolve a worry of mine. A woman's gentle embrace has always been a hero's grave. Once my father plunged in, he spent a full month sleeping in the new concubine's courtyard. Until one afternoon, a small unsigned note was secretly stuffed into his study. The paper bore only one line. "Lily has been in difficult straits recently. I fear the mistress can no longer tolerate her." My father held the scrap of paper, his brows immediately furrowing tight. Only then did he remember Lily's pitiful face. There are some matters that if he does not manage, truly no one else will. The note from Lily was actually allowed in by my mother. My mother had managed the manor's internal affairs for many years and was very skilled in the art of using people. Although not intimate with the servants, she always maintained respect. After all, the food, clothing, and daily life in the manor all passed through their hands. For many years, she ruled with both kindness and authority, and the manor had always been orderly. However, Lily was different. Relying on my father's partiality, she became arrogant, frequently speaking with contempt toward the servants. Except for times when punishments were excessive and my mother stepped in to stop them, my mother ignored all other provocations. Over time, Lily truly believed my mother could do nothing to her, acting more and more presumptuously. Until this time, when the new concubine won favor, my mother simply gave a casual instruction. "The new concubine has entered the manor, and expenses have soared. The cousin Mrs. allowance is reduced by 1/3. One sentence was enough, the servants all tacitly understood. Thus, the shoe silk I once promised her was instantly sent to concubine Chloe's room. The exquisite decorations in her room were removed piece by piece and moved to the new concubine's quarters. The meals delivered to her had spit from the servants she had once humiliated, and her tea was mixed with dirty water, causing her ceaseless diarrhea. When my father went to find her, he happened to see her stepping out of the latrine, her whole body reeking of a foul odor. Lily knew well she smelled unpleasant, but having finally waited for my father to come, she could not care much and rushed forward crying and complaining. She sniffled and wiped her tears as she spoke. "Cousin Edward, Vanessa Meng took all the good things in my room to give to that lowly concubine Chloe. Those servants are best at seeing which way the wind blows. Isn't her doing this clearly letting them despise me at will?" My father's monthly salary was only 20 silver taels. More than half had to be used to bribe superiors and maintain relationships with colleagues. He had always been frugal, and the manor's expenses were already tight. Years ago, buying those good items for Lily had pained him greatly. Now, with a new concubine, my mother borrowing flowers to offer Buddha in this way seemed perfectly fine to him. However, seeing Lily's tear-stained face, my father's heart tightened slightly. If she had followed him back then, why would she have to suffer such grievances for a few meager possessions? He sighed, his voice softening. All right, stop crying. I will go find Nessa and ask for them back for you." Lily secretly rejoiced and leaned toward his chest, but the sour stench assaulted my father's nose, forcing him to take half a step back. He immediately remembered the soft fragrance on concubine Chloe, and a wave of inexplicable annoyance rose in his heart. In her letter, she said, "The mistress cannot tolerate her." Was it referring only to these matters? Lily saw my father retreat half a step. She was stunned at first, feeling bitter inside. These filthy matters were indeed things she could not bring to light, but she immediately sobered up. Even if she couldn't bear it, if she lost even my father's pity, she would truly have nothing. Her body went limp, leaning against the doorframe, speaking gloomily. I fear I ate something unclean and have had diarrhea for 2 days. Today I let my cousin see such a wretched state. Truly, if this continues, I fear this little life of mine will quietly succumb to illness and fade away. My father, after all, still remembered old affections. Hearing her speak of dying from illness, his heart constricted. He comforted her with a few words, then hurriedly returned to the main courtyard. When he entered the courtyard, my mother was seeing a doctor. "Nessa, what is wrong? Are you not feeling well?" he asked hurriedly. My mother looked calm, explaining softly. "I heard Sister Lily has had diarrhea for 2 days. She must be too shy to tell me. I was worried, so I specially invited a doctor and was just about to go check on her." My father suddenly realized, so his cousin loved him to this extent, sparing no effort to use her own body to compete for favor. Then let the doctor go see her quickly. His voice immediately softened. Right after, my father looked awkward and spoke up. "I see quite a few items in concubine Chloe's room that were originally used by Lily. Before, her life was frugal. Now that she could finally be a bit more comfortable, having her things taken away makes it hard to avoid feeling aggrieved. How about buying her a few new items?" Hearing this, my mother frowned slightly, her voice gentle but carrying a hint of helplessness. "Husband knows well, you are an honest official. Everywhere in the capital requires management, and we still have to help the second brother's family, which matter does not require silver. In these years, we truly haven't saved much. When Lily arrived before, I had to use my private savings to settle her properly. Now that concubine Chloe has entered the door, we cannot let her feel our family is destitute, so I transferred a portion of the items to maintain dignity." My father pondered for a moment and felt it made sense. Lily had panicked over such a small matter, hurriedly finding my father to complain. Then my mother would simply go along with her. Currently, my father still had some affection for Lily and would naturally stand up for her. But if every time it was just these unspeakable matters, and it happened often, who wouldn't grow annoyed? Moreover, the manor now had a gentle concubine Chloe who knew how to listen and never made noise, only quietly waiting for him. Over time, which way would the scale tilt? It goes without saying. Since Lily herself lost her composure first, my mother's dealing with her became much easier. To make something perish, one must first let it swell. My father intended to say something more, but my mother smiled and interrupted, dropping a heavy piece of news. "There is one more thing. A few days ago, I received a letter from our hometown saying the old madam's health is not very good. I was worried, so I took the initiative to send someone to bring her to the capital to recuperate. By this time, she should be arriving at the city gates." Her voice was gentle, but every word was distinct. "I originally intended to wait until the old madam arrived to give my husband a surprise, but since we are discussing expenses, I might as well say it early. Once the old madam arrives, food, clothing, living, medical visits and medicine will all be a considerable sum." She looked up at my father, her eyes sincere. "The manor truly has no surplus silver to prioritize Sister Lily anymore. Her daily necessities will still follow the young Mrs. standard, but as for those decorative items, I fear she must temporarily suffer a grievance." My father was first stunned, then overjoyed. "Nessa, you are willing to welcome Mother to live with us. After that incident, I always thought you held a grudge against her." My mother lowered her eyes, smiling faintly. "Why mention those old matters? The old madam is husband's birth mother. How could I not respect her? Not being able to fulfill filial duties these years, I am already very ashamed." At dinner, I poked at the rice in my bowl angrily. "Mother, I heard grandmother is coming, and you took the initiative to welcome her. She doesn't like us at all, why ask for trouble?" My mother placed a piece of shrimp on my plate, her voice calm. "It is true that I welcomed her. Why?" I put down my chopsticks, my voice rising. "Have you forgotten how she treated us before?" Since I could remember, I knew grandmother did not like our family. Grandmother had 2 sons, my father and second uncle Marcus. My grandfather passed away early. He was just a poor scholar. Before his death, his only wish was for his 2 sons to study and become officials to bring glory to the family. Grandmother gritted her teeth and shouldered the entire family alone. She risked her life to provide for her 2 sons to attend private school, working day and night. Fortunately, my father had the intellect. From the county exam all the way to the provincial exam, his achievements were outstanding. But second uncle truly did not have the aptitude for studying, failing consecutively. The family circumstances were truly difficult, so grandmother had to heartbrokenly cut off second uncle's path to the civil service examinations. Initially, when my father passed with high honors and married my mother, grandmother was happy. But after my mother gave birth to me and had difficulty conceiving again, grandmother's attitude gradually changed. She began urging my father to take a concubine. Seeing that my father was wary of my maternal grandfather and refused, she became angry even at my father, pouring all her heart towards second uncle's family. Later, second uncle Marcus complained every few days, saying that back then, if grandmother hadn't been biased and stopped him from studying, the one being an official today would have been him. Adding to that, second aunt Sarah gave birth to 2 sons in succession, making grandmother's heart tilt completely. She always hid the candied fruits I liked to eat and stuffed them all into my 2 male cousins. When my cousins were scolded at school, she punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall, saying I didn't fulfill the duty of an elder cousin. The most unforgettable incident was when my 2 cousins tricked me into going to a deserted house to catch goats, but unexpectedly, I pretended to be a ghost and scared them until they wet their pants. I intentionally hid until pitch dark, causing the whole family to run around anxiously. Finally, it was Mama She who told me. My mother was furious and slapped each cousin on the spot. Even when grandmother came up to pull her away in bias, she also received a slap. Although my mother later knew the truth and praised my quick wit, her eyes were still red as she said, "Do not do that next time." Mother almost went mad with worry. Mother remembers it all. My mother gently tapped my forehead, a gleam of cunning flashing in her eyes. Welcoming her here is naturally not to let her tyrannize us. She leaned close to my ear, her warm breath brushing past. Does Vivi want to go on a spring tour? The peach blossoms are blooming beautifully right now. My eyes lit up immediately. Really? But what about when grandmother arrives? Just let her recuperate in peace. My mother smiled faintly. In this manner, isn't there still a niece of hers who can serve her? I suddenly understood something and threw myself into her arms. Mother is the most amazing. Be good. My mother stroked my hair, her voice gentle but firm. Some people want to enjoy the blessings of having both a wife and a concubine, but they must also see if they have enough fortune to enjoy it. Less than 2 days later, my mother proposed to my father that she wanted to go to the Western Garden Temple to pray for blessings. Currently, the Empress Dowager's health was not peaceful. In the capital, many families of officials went to temples to pray for her, so she felt she should also make the trip. My mother's voice was gentle, but every sentence was reasonable and logical. The emperor governs the world with filial piety and values the Empress Dowager's health above all else. If we dedicate ourselves wholeheartedly for a while, the husband will not be criticized by others in the officialdom. Hearing this, my father's eyes were full of admiration. Indeed, his wife was still the one who thought thoroughly. She should go, she definitely must go. When the current emperor was young, the harem had gone through a period of unrest. At that time, the noble consort had powerful influence and had moved against the young emperor and the Empress Dowager many times. Although the Empress Dowager was noble as the mistress of the 6 palaces, it was hard to guard against everything completely. She was once poisoned, and although she was lucky enough to keep her life, her health had been unstable ever since. After the emperor ascended the throne, the first thing he did was widely recruit famous doctors throughout the realm to nurse the Empress Dowager back to health. Furthermore, he especially detested the matter of favoring a concubine over a wife. The reputation for virtue that my mother had painstakingly built in the capital over the years had long become a golden signboard for my father's career. For a man like him who valued his official reputation more than his life, this support was naturally incredibly precious. My mother continued, "This trip of mine will take at least a month. Since I am praying for blessings, I must sincerely keep a vegetarian diet and chant scriptures to show my sincerity. If the Empress Dowager's health is slow to recover, staying longer is also normal." She paused for a moment, her gentle gaze falling on me. "I want to take Vivian with me. In less than 2 years, the child will reach the age of coming of age. She should go out to broaden her horizons more, leaving a good impression in front of the other madams to accumulate a good reputation." My father nodded repeatedly, his eyes full of relief and satisfaction. "Good, good. If everyone goes and Vivian follows you, I am most reassured." As if suddenly thinking of something, he looked troubled. "Nessa, you are going on this trip for at least a month. Mother is about to arrive, and there will be no one in the manor to manage things. Regarding this matter, My mother looked calm, smiling as she cut off his worry. Husband need not worry. Everything in the manor is already on track, and the servants are all capable. Furthermore, her voice paused slightly, implying a deeper meaning. Is cousin Lily not also in the manor? I fear she and the old madam have not seen each other for decades, right? I also heard that before she married, the old madam especially loved her. My father heard this and hurriedly explained. There was no such thing. Mother only pitied her for losing her mother at a young age, so she looked after her a bit more, that is all. My mother went along with his words. Speaking of which, it is truly a pity. Although Sister Lily does not want to enter the family, in my heart, I still feel that after all she is family. Knowing her roots makes me more reassured. Now that the old madam is here, it just so happens to let the two of them sit down and talk. Who knows, perhaps after being persuaded by the madam, sister might change her mind. Hearing this, my father's face was full of emotion. Nessa, marrying a wife like you, what more could I ask for? However, in the depths of his heart, a certain corner quietly weighed down. That is right. Even concubine Chloe, who is young, beautiful, and from a clean background, was willing to be a concubine for me. Yet that cousin who claimed her love was as deep as the ocean refused to yield even temporarily. This realization was like a small thorn, unintentionally embedding itself deep into the softest part of his heart. During the days praying at the Western Garden Temple, every 5 days my mother would take me down the mountain for 2 days. Nominally it was for shopping, but in reality, it was to inspect the businesses she secretly managed. She had early on discovered a hidden business opportunity. No matter how meticulously the noble ladies in the capital maintained their appearance, when speaking, it was hard to avoid breaths that were not very elegant. The masters naturally did not care, but among the ladies, this matter was extremely sensitive. My mother immediately ordered people to research and create a special type of tooth powder using salt, scholar tree branches, and honey locust as a base, dried and ground into fine powder. When cleaning teeth, one just needed to dip into it to use, but she still did not feel it was enough. Later, she also consulted ancient medical recipes, adding mint, borneal, and other ingredients to create an upgraded tooth powder that was both fragrant and refreshing. She even specially ordered toothbrushes made of soft pig bristles for valued guests, adding precious agarwood, exclusively supplying the female relatives of powerful families. As for the common people, she also prepared willow wood toothbrushes at affordable prices. Now, this business had opened several branches. A trend of clean teeth quietly emerged in the capital, and the person pushing it from behind was my mother, who had never shown off. Naturally, my father was completely unaware of this matter, and my mother would absolutely not take the silver she had worked hard to earn to fill the deficit in the manor's public funds, which could never be filled anyway. During this period, the manor was truly a stage for one play after another. Concubine Chloe indeed did not disappoint. She fought with Lily both openly and secretly, with the fires of war flying everywhere. Initially, grandmother was naturally biased toward Lily, following her lead to torment concubine Chloe many times. But was concubine Chloe someone easily bullied? She directly launched a move to strike at the root of the problem. That day when my father was present, she intentionally showed weakness in her words. Every sentence secretly carried provocation, effectively triggering Lily into losing control and shoving her. Concubine Chloe took the opportunity to fall backward, falling heavily indeed. This fall directly revealed a pregnancy. My father, who had been happily watching 2 women fight for his affection, was now completely panicked. Having a son to carry on the family line was the deepest obsession in his heart. Now that concubine Chloe was pregnant, how could he dare let Lily continue to act recklessly? Even more ruthless was grandmother. Upon hearing that concubine Chloe was carrying the Yang family's flesh and blood, her attitude immediately turned 180 degrees. What cousin Lily? She immediately threw her to the back of her mind. Now in her eyes, there was only the golden grandson who had not yet been born. She cared for and protected concubine Chloe in every possible way. Those seemingly peaceful days ultimately did not last long. Lily was not the type to easily admit defeat. That night, she calculated the path my father would definitely take and stood alone under the pear tree. Her slender figure under the gentle moonlight appeared even more pitiful. Facing the ground full of fallen flowers, she sobbed softly. The moonlight, the fallen flowers, and the childhood sweetheart in his memories. All these coincidentally perfect elements indeed aroused a bit old affection in the depths of my father's heart. Added to that, concubine Chloe was pregnant, so he had been somewhat frustrated these past few days. Seeing Lily like this now, his heart could not help but soften. He was just about to step forward to comfort her when, suddenly, from behind the moon gate, a burly man rushed out, charging straight toward Lily. Lily! The man's voice was full of urgency. If you truly live in such grievance, then let me take you away. My father's steps came to an abrupt halt. When Mama Xi reported the news to my mother, she intentionally avoided me. I pretended to obediently withdraw, bending down to hide under the eaves of the corridor, holding my breath to listen to the conversation inside. Mama Xi reported with a smile. The mistress indeed predicted things like a god. That Lily really falls for this type. My mother took a sip of tea, her voice carrying the tone of having understood long ago. Her previous husband was originally a rough man, physically strong. She is used to eating rich meat and fish. How can she swallow plain porridge and vegetables anymore? Mama Xi sighed. It is just a pity that the two of them have not yet crossed the final step. Although the master was furious, Lily is nominally just a cousin staying in the manor, so it is hard for him to investigate deeply. Lily pleaded with tears in her eyes. He scolded her a few times and left it at that. How about on the old madam's side? My mother put down the teacup. Those vows of never becoming a concubine that Lily made, she must have heard them, right? Not only did she hear them. Mama Xi lowered her voice. Our people blow wind into her ears every day. The old madam was so angry she cursed ceaselessly, saying, for Lily, a remarried widow, to be a concubine for the master is already a great promotion. Yet now she doesn't even have a title but dares to harm my grandson. Now she calls Lily to her presence every day to teach her the rules. Speaking of this, the wrinkles on Mama Xi's face deepened with her smile. Before the sky is even bright, she forces Lily to stand and serve while she combs her hair. The copper basin must be held at eyebrow level. If a drop spills, she says her heart is not sincere. My mother lightly swirled the lid of her teacup, brushing aside the floating tea leaves. Only that. I fear that is not like the old madam style. Of course it is not only that. Mama Xi leaned closer, her voice even lower. At mealtimes, she orders Lily to stand behind and serve food, intentionally choosing piping hot bowls of soup for her to ladle. If she is half a beat slow, she puts down her chopsticks, saying she is old and cannot even eat a hot meal. After one meal passes, Lily's 10 fingertips are red and swollen. But the most torturous part is at night. The old madam says her knees hurt and she cannot sleep, forcing Lily to sit by the bed and massage her legs. If the force is light, she says she feels nothing. If it is heavy, she says she is being hurt. She torments her until the third watch before letting her go. Just 3 to 5 days like this. Mama Xi laughed and said, now Lily has dark circles under her eyes, staggering even when she walks. She ran to cry to the master. At first the master felt pity, but seeing her repeat only those few sentences about painful legs and poor sleep, and then looking at the pregnant concubine Chloe who was quiet and submissive, he felt Lily was making a fuss over nothing. Annoying beyond endurance. I covered my mouth tightly, daring not even to breathe loudly. In the days we left the manor, Lily's situation could be said to be plummeting. Not only could she not form an alliance with grandmother, but on the contrary, she was intentionally made difficult by grandmother. Added to that was my father's intentional coldness. These two dull knives ground her down day by day. My mother's scheme was truly killing without seeing blood. My mother's fingers tapped lightly on the table, her brow slightly furrowing. Did I overestimate her? Is this Lily ultimately just an empty head who only knows how to cry? Mama Xi hurriedly said. This old servant sees it that way too. The master has spoken up these past few days, forbidding her from coming close to serve. That will not do. My mother suddenly laughed, but there was no warmth in her eyes. The stage is already set. If this actor is missing, how can the play be sung? We must give her a hand. She lifted the teacup, then as if suddenly remembering something, asked again. That is right, that family is about to arrive too, right? Mama Xi's face immediately showed contempt. That family, as soon as they heard they could come to the capital, acted like hungry wolves seeing meat. The journey was originally planned for a month, yet they forcibly shortened it by half. I fear they will arrive in 2 days. My mother leisurely stood up, adjusting her sleeves. In that case, make arrangements. We will return to the manor tomorrow morning. 3 days after returning to the manor, my mother, coincidentally, met Lily taking a walk in the flower garden. Little sister, why are you so haggard? My mother's voice was full of concern. Is it that the servants are not serving you thoughtfully? Lily turned her face away, her voice stiff. I dare not trouble sister-in-law to worry. My mother was not angry at all, only speaking softly. Little sister, that man is nostalgic for the old but also covets the new. You and husband are old flames, while concubine Chloe is fresh. But now she is pregnant and cannot serve husband. Isn't this exactly your opportunity? Lily was stunned, looking at my mother with suspicion. Husband has been busy with official duties lately, often working until late. He likes the tea from my small kitchen the best. My mother looked at her with hidden meaning. If you are sincere, tonight, late in the evening, you can personally bring it to the study. Remember, dress elegantly, do not wear heavy makeup. Lily was half believing and half doubting, but in her desperate situation, she still followed the advice. That night, she wore a white dress, without rouge or powder, carrying a food box just like in years past. The pure cousin appearing outside my father's study. My father opened the door and saw her. He paused first, smelling the familiar tea fragrance, then seeing the mole under her eye glistening with tears, her appearance weak and pitiful. His heart softened and finally, he stepped aside to let her enter. After all, I was still young and could not hide things in my heart. Hearing the news that Lily had regained favor, even knowing clearly it was my mother's arrangement, my chest felt as if it were stuffed with cotton. At dinner, I stared at my rice bowl, my complexion very poor. Was Vivian bullied at school today? My mother asked gently. I shook my head. Then what is wrong? She put down her silver chopsticks, her gaze falling on my face. I gripped the corner of my clothes tightly, stammering. No. Nothing, it is just hot and I do not want to eat. I didn't even touch a bite of my favorite frozen yogurt. My mother sighed softly, her voice allowing no evasion. Tell mother the truth. Did you hear some nonsense rumors? If you refuse to speak, mother will have to go ask your personal maid. I panicked and could only lower my head, whispering. Mother, Lily clearly had lost power. Why did you still have to help her regain father's favor? My mother's eyes moved slightly. How did you know mother helped? That day at the Western Garden Temple. My voice went even lower. I heard mother talking to Mama. She fell silent for a moment, then smiled calmly. So that is it. Mother originally did not want you to come into contact with these matters so early, but since you have heard, I will tell you. She ladled a spoonful of frozen yogurt for me, her voice gentle but solemn. The inner court is like a game of chess. To make one move, you must look 10 moves ahead. Helping her today is not out of kindness, but to treat her as a chess piece, placing her in a more dangerous position to complete the final endgame. I nodded, half understanding. She reached out to adjust the hair at my temples, her eyes full of warmth. Do not worry. Before you come of age, mother will slowly teach you these principles. For now, you just need to be a carefree little girl. Mother is here to block the wind and rain of this inner courtyard for you. Second, Uncle Marcus's family arrived in the capital. As soon as they were settled, they revealed their greedy nature, wanting to compare with the main household in everything. My mother nodded in agreement to everything, but her face showed increasing worry. That day, she coincidentally met second Aunt Sarah in the winding corridor. Sister-in-law, do not blame me. My mother sighed softly. The manor is crowded now. On cousin Lily's side, the expenses are also large. As for the supplies prepared for you all, if there are places that are not thorough, I hope you will forgive me. Second Aunt Sarah immediately raised her eyebrows. What does sister-in-law mean by that? We came from afar. Do we still have to look at the expression of an outsider with a different surname? My mother looked as if she wanted to speak but stopped, finally lowering her voice as if helpless. Cousin Lily is a guest after all, and husband pities her even more. Now her food, clothing, and expenses follow Vivian's standard. There are some portions that should have been Vivian's, and even the allowance for the nephews and nieces had to be prioritized for her first. These words were like a spark, immediately igniting the dissatisfaction in second Aunt Sarah's heart. A widow coming to rely on relatives dares to snatch the resources of my children. The conflict erupted instantly. From then on, second Aunt Sarah found fault with Lily everywhere, using one thing to scold another, making the manor chaotic. Lily could not bear the harassment and cried to my father like rain, accusing second uncle's family of being rude and greedy. My father had supported second uncle's family for so many years, how could he not know what kind of people they were? It was just that in the past, he was always bound by grandmother's logic of sacrificing the younger brother to complete the older brother, carrying guilt in his heart, so he wouldn't listen to half a word of my mother's advice. But now, even Lily ceaselessly whispered in his ear about the unworthiness of second uncle's family. those suppressed grievances. Hearing them once was bearable. But hearing them many times, the little kinship remaining in his heart was about to crumble. My mother saw the time was ripe and began the next step. She secretly indulged second Uncle Marcus in spending money outside, and under the pretext of expanding his network, led him to associate with some friends who had wide connections. In less than half a month, second Uncle Marcus had learned to indulge in wine and women, spending enormous sums. At this time, the person arranged by my mother unintentionally revealed that my father's reputation might help some merchants secure a small position to make money. Blinded by profit, second Uncle Marcus very quickly used his older brother's title as a capital official to go out and engage in the business of selling official positions. Not long after, the news was quietly presented to the desk of an official at the censorate through my mother's channels. Meanwhile, in the manor, my mother was not idle either. That day, she arranged for second Aunt Sarah to go to a temple with efficacious incense to pray for wealth for second Uncle Marcus. On the way back to the manor, she happened to let second Aunt Sarah witness Lily pulling and tugging at a burly man at the side gate, looking intimate and chatting happily. Second Aunt Sarah acted as if she had found a treasure, immediately rushing inside. In front of my father and grandmother, she added fuel to the fire and shouted loudly, "Older brother, do you know what Lily is?" In broad daylight, she was pulling and tugging with a wild man. The face of our young family is about to be completely lost by her. My father's face turned ashen. The suspicions regarding Lily from before immediately surged in his mind. He stormed over to the west wing to question her. Lily cried like a pure blossom bathed in rain, denying it vehemently. But looking at that tear-stained face, my father could not help but recall the silhouette of the strange man under the moonlight that night. It gradually coincided with the "rough fellow" in second Aunt Sarah's words. Seeing the situation was unfavorable, Lily changed her tune, shrilly accusing second Aunt Sarah of intentional slander, and dragged up the matter of second uncle's family spending extravagantly to make a scene. My father was caught in the middle. On the left was second Aunt Sarah cursing loudly, on the right was Lily crying and fighting back. He only felt a buzzing in his ears, the veins on his temples throbbing continuously. "Nouf." He suddenly waved his sleeve violently, shouting to cut off this chaos, then turned and walked away without looking back, leaving only the two women standing in place, still unreconciled, glaring at each other. That night, my father leaned on the bed looking through my homework, his tone finally softening a bit. "Vivian's essays have quite a bit of spiritual aura. This point resembles me." My mother sat beside him, smiling gently. "That is right. If the child heard father praise her like this, who knows how happy she would be. Lately, I have neglected you and your mother." "Husband, do not say that." My mother lowered her eyes, her voice full of guilt. "It is I who have not arranged the household affairs properly, causing you to be troubled." My father shook his head and sighed. "What does it have to do with you? It is just that there are some people who have never let others have peace." My mother took the opportunity to speak softly. "Aye, that is right, husband. It is not proper for Sister Lily to stay like this forever, with neither fame nor title. Wait until second uncle and his family leave. How about formally taking her into the family? At that time expenses will be lighter, and we can conveniently hold a proper ceremony. After all, we cannot let her suffer a loss." The depths of my father's eyes revealed clear disdain. "There is no need to rush that matter." My mother immediately pretended to comfort him. "Husband, I know you heard some gossip today, but those are all non-existent matters. I have already sent people to investigate. The horse stable is being repaired recently. That person is just a man who came to work in the manor and knew Lily from before, so they exchanged a few words. There was absolutely no behavior that exceeded the rules." My father was moved, pulling my mother into his embrace, but he did not see the flash of coldness in the depths of her eyes. "Nessa, why are you always able to be so generous and understanding?" He sighed with emotion. "Only by your side can I have a moment of peace." He originally intended to stay, but my mother gently pushed him away, her voice full of concern. "Husband, go check on concubine Chloe. Her pregnancy symptoms have not been stable these past few days. She really needs you to go comfort her." Hearing the two words, "a son," my father immediately stood up and hurriedly left. However, his peaceful days did not last more than a few days before the matter of second uncle selling official positions was exposed. The victim directly sued to the capital governor, and the complaint pointed straight at my father. It accused him of indulging his relatives in buying and selling official ranks. When my father heard the news, he was both terrified and furious. Only then did he realize the severity of the problem. To preserve his reputation in the officialdom, he was forced to immediately cut ties with second uncle Marcus. He also had to take out most of his savings to run around pleading for help before he could barely suppress this matter. After this incident, the brothers completely turned against each other. My father's spirit and energy were both exhausted, and under my mother's persuasion, he finally agreed to separate the household. Although grandmother pitied second uncle, she valued my father's official status even more. After crying and making a scene for a while, she could only follow second uncle's family and move out. Seeing the manor suddenly become much emptier, my father seemed to age 10 years in just one night. My mother comforted him with a gentle voice. "It is fine. Our family being together neatly and fully is better than anything else. The days ahead are still long. Wait until cousin Lily enters the family and gives birth to a chubby son for you. This manor will naturally become lively again." My father was soothed by those soft words, his tightly furrowed brows gradually relaxing. He seemed to already see the scene of children and grandchildren gathering around his knees, perfectly happy. It was just that the disappointment in his official career was ultimately hard to make up for. In these days at the government office, he repeatedly encountered obstacles. Every day he returned to the manor looking dejected and dispirited. At this time, the only thing that could still cheer him up was the concubine induction ceremony with Lily, which was just 5 days away. However, unforeseen events always arrive faster than expected. Just 2 days before the ceremony, my father rummaged frantically through the study, his face pale as paper. When my mother heard the news and rushed over, she only saw him collapse onto the grand armchair, his whole body trembling. "It is over." His voice was hoarse. "My official seal is gone." His eyes were empty as he suddenly grabbed my mother's hand tightly. It must be second brother. It must be that he was dissatisfied with the separation, so he stole my official seal to vent his hatred. My mother walked quickly around the study once, her expression becoming increasingly grave. "Husband, at this time, you absolutely cannot lose your composure." She spoke with a steady voice. "Second brother has left the manor for many days, and when we separated, he took most of the money. If he truly dragged you down, what good days would he have left? In my opinion, this matter was absolutely not done by the second brother." My father looked at her as if grasping a life-saving straw. "Madam, makes sense. Then could there be a thief in the manor?" My mother shook her head slightly. "What use is an official seal to a servant? Moreover, this is a crime punishable by beheading." She guided him gently. "Husband, think carefully again. Could it be that you were busy with official duties a few days ago and casually put it somewhere else?" These days, my father was already mentally scattered due to his frustrations in the officialdom. Now he was even more confused. I really cannot remember. But what if it really was stolen? Losing an official seal is a matter of losing one's head. My mother's eyes turned cold, and she made an immediate decision. "Then seal the manor immediately. No one is allowed to enter or leave. We will search every courtyard one by one." "You are much stronger than that bean sprout of a man." Following that came another voice, accompanied by heavy breathing. "You little vixen, let's see if this old master doesn't sort you out properly. Faster, even faster." My father stood stiffly outside the stable. The coquettish moans echoing from inside made his heart constrict. That sound was overly familiar. A chill ran down his spine. He grit his teeth and silently walked in. "You slut." On a pile of dry hay, Lily was engaging in wild intimacy with that burly man, so lost in lust she forgot heaven and earth. My father's eyes instantly turned bloodshot, blood rushing straight to his head. Adulterous couple. He rushed forward, pulling the man off Lily with one hand. But how could his meager strength match the opponent? The man simply swung his hand casually, and my father stumbled and fell, the back of his head hitting a wooden stake hard, pain blinding his eyes. Amidst the intense pain, he caught a glimpse of a horsewhip hanging on the wall, and a wave of viciousness surged in his heart. He flipped over and jumped up, snatching the whip, his movements so fast it was as if he had become a different person. Crack! A resounding whip lash struck the burly man's back hard. Only then did the man snap out of it. In pain, he saw torchlight flickering in the distance and heard voices getting closer. He hurriedly pulled up his pants, slammed hard into my father, and fled to escape. My father was knocked back several steps. Just as he steadied himself, he saw Lily lying on the pile of hay, her eyes dazed, looking as if she were still unsatisfied. His gaze suddenly swept to the side, seeing a pink undergarment crumpled into a ball. The blood in his body instantly boiled over. He grabbed the undergarment, straddled Lily, and used that soft strip of silk to strangle her fair white neck. Only now was Lily completely awake, her hands clawing frantically. "Ah, Cousin Edward, cousin, let me go. What are you doing?" My father stared coldly at her, the strength in his hands not decreasing in the slightest. "What am I doing? I should be asking you, what were you doing just now? Listen to me explain, it is not what you think." "Shut up, I should not have trusted a slut like you." He suddenly tightened his grip. "Once, twice, and I actually believed you. And the result? You dare to secretly commit adultery right here in this stable." Lily's face had turned purple from suffocation, forcing out words with difficulty. "Let go, go, I cannot breathe." Hearing this, my father's hands loosened slightly. A bit of reason returned, but his words were still full of cruelty. "A slut like you dying would not be a pity. I welcomed you into the manor, fed you good food and dressed you in nice clothes. And this is how you repay me." Speaking of this, his anger flared up again, and the strength in his hands unconsciously tightened. Seeing that he had absolutely no intention of sparing her, in her terror, Lily blurted out curses. "Do you really think that body of yours is still so capable? Don't you look at how old you are? A man past 30 is useless. Let me go, you useless trash. Do you dare to kill me? If you kill me, can you still keep that official position of yours?" These words provoked my father until his eyes turned red, his teeth grinding together. "Bitch. Bitch." The veins on his hands bulged, the strangling force becoming stronger and stronger, until the body under his hands went completely limp, making no more movement. The fatal official seal was eventually found behind a Buddha statue on the bookshelf in my father's study. As for that night, I had blown out the lamp and gone to sleep early because my mother had specifically instructed me that no matter what noise I heard, I was not to go out. I wrapped myself tight in the blanket, sleeping so soundly that even thunder wouldn't wake me. After that night, my father was confined in the manor under the pretense of recovering from illness. My mother held a bowl of medicine and sat by his bed, her voice as gentle as if coaxing a child. "Husband suffered excessive shock, your body now needs even more nourishment." She gently pushed a confession sheet with wet ink in front of him, took his trembling hand, dipped it in the red ink box, and pressed it down. "Just one fingerprint is enough." Her voice was very low, carrying a mesmerizing power. "I have inquired carefully. If the officials ask, just say it was an accidental injury." Seeing this statement of confession, and looking at your weak body, they surely will not make things difficult. My father's eyes were empty. Like a puppet on strings, he allowed my mother to hold his finger and press a bright red fingerprint onto the written confession. "That is good then, that is good then," he mumbled. "With my body like this, how could I endure the torture of prison? Husband, just rest in peace." My mother carefully put away the confession and pulled the blanket up for him. "I will handle matters outside myself." She turned and closed the door, whispering instructions to Mama She standing under the corridor to go to the government office to report sickness, saying the master had suddenly fallen gravely ill and needed to recuperate. From that day on, my mother became the only person in the Yang manor who could speak for the sick master. She began frequenting banquets at other households. Her words and gestures always carried just the right amount of sorrow and proper resilience. Everyone praised her for remaining calm in the face of danger, never abandoning her bedridden husband. Not long after, my mother, carelessly, let a mad dog rush into my father's courtyard, biting off a chunk of flesh from his leg. Since that day, several tranquilizing ingredients were added to his medicine. His eyes became increasingly cloudy, he began smashing things, screaming, and even scratching the maids who brought him food. The servants whispered among themselves, "The master, I fear, has gone mad." With red-rimmed eyes, my mother ordered him locked in his room in front of everyone, leaving only an old servant to attend to him. That day, I still couldn't bear it and tugged at my mother's sleeve. "Mother, what exactly is wrong with father? Can I really not go visit him?" She gently stroked my hair, her voice allowing no doubt. "Vivi, be good. Your father is sick, sick to the point where he will hurt others." Seeing I was still staring blankly at her, my mother's expression softened a bit, and she whispered, "Does Vivian believe me? Mother is the person who loves you most in this world." I nodded vigorously without hesitation. "Of course I believe you. Mother loves you the most, so as long as you have mother's love, that is enough, right?" I was slightly stunned, then shook my head, casting away the last bit of doubt, and smiled brightly. "Of course it is enough. Vivian also loves mother the most." Later, even the emperor heard the story of Madame Yang not removing her clothes day and night to care for her mad husband. An imperial decree of reward descended. My mother knelt to receive the titled rank, becoming a virtuous wife praised throughout the capital. But not long after, my father finally smelled something wrong. He gathered the few valuable things left on him and stuffed them into the trembling hand of that old servant. A secret letter addressed to the capital governor was thus quietly slipped out of the manor gates. Twilight gradually fell. Footsteps finally echoed under the corridor. My father struggled to rush to the door, looking out expectantly, but he only saw my mother walking over alone carrying a lantern, followed by 2 tall servants who had signed death contracts. What is husband waiting for? Her voice was as light as a feather, yet it made his whole body turn cold. Waiting for the people from the capital governor. My father was startled, backing away sharply until his spine hit the wall heavily. My mother leisurely pulled that secret letter from her sleeve and lit it right before the candle flame. Do not wait anymore. No one is coming. You have controlled this entire manor so tightly, without a single crack. His voice was so hoarse it was nearly shattered. If not, then what? My mother looked straight into his violently contracting pupils. Did husband still think they're your people in this manner? My father looked as if struck by lightning, struggling to maintain his last shred of dignity. I just wanted to go out for some fresh air. Go out, she laughed softly. Go out to confess your crimes, or go out to let people see the Yang family as a joke. Husband, the Yang family is currently in a position of favor. By stepping out of this door, do you want to destroy this entire home? He hurriedly defended himself. No, I was just too stifled, I wanted to walk around a bit. My mother smiled, but the bottom of her eyes froze over. Husband, stop thinking about it. In this life, you will not walk out of this door. What did you say? His voice trembled. You vicious woman, do you plan to murder your husband? My mother's gaze went completely cold. If I do not kill you, you will take my life. Is that not so? I do not know what nonsense you are talking about. He backed away in fear until his back touched the cold wall, with no way to retreat. My mother gave a scornful laugh, her eyes full of mockery. At this point, you still pretend to be confused. When we were in Guangzhou County, you were just a district magistrate, with a monthly salary of no more than 5 taels. At that time, Vivian had just been born, and we were short on food and clothing. Yet you suddenly proposed to personally support your mother, just because your younger brother got drunk and spoke nonsense, saying your mother didn't provide for him to take the exams, so he wouldn't support her in old age. I did not agree. On the surface you complied, but behind my back you told your mother. She emphasized every word. The Meng family has no male heirs. Wait until her parents die. The family fortune will sooner or later belong to us. She took a step forward, the candlelight in her eyes condensing into frost. Even your bitter and mean mother advised you not to repay kindness with enmity, yet you had long calculated to swallow my family's fortune. From that moment, I understood that between you and me, sooner or later, only one would survive. My father's whole body shook, his voice trembling. So for all these years, you have been acting. I am not ashamed to admit I once loved you. She approached step by step, but ever since I saw your vicious heart clearly, I cut you off from the bottom of my heart. Over the years, everything in the manor has passed through my hands, everyone high and low obeys my orders. Did you think I would sit and wait for death? Concubine Chloe was arranged by me early on. Lily was indulged by me. Your mother and your younger brother were also intentionally invited by me. I hid the official seal. I released the mad dog. I also administered the medicine. Her speech became faster and faster, every word like a knife stabbing the heart. Why do you think Lily could so easily commit adultery with an outsider? Do you think I really unintentionally told you that the man was here to repair the stable? She suddenly pulled out the letter he wrote to Lily years ago and threw it heavily in front of him. Wait until the Meng woman dies. The position of main wife will belong to you. Edward Yang, from the moment you put down your pen to write that sentence, today's outcome was already destined. My father's eyes immediately turned bloodshot, and a roar that sounded unhuman burst from his throat. He lunged toward my mother like a ferocious beast. My mother had long been prepared and dodged calmly. My father fell heavily to the ground, his forehead hitting the green bricks, making a dull thud. Ah, that is right, there is one more thing I forgot to say. My mother looked at his wretched form on the ground, her tone as calm as if discussing what to eat tomorrow morning. Concubine Chloe is indeed pregnant. Unfortunately, it is the posthumous child of her husband who died unjustly. Ah! A miserable howl burst from my father's throat, his 10 fingers dug tight into the cracks of the bricks, his knuckles twisting into terrifying curves. Suddenly, his whole body convulsed violently, saliva mixed with white foam ceaselessly flowing from the corner of his mouth. His eyes rolled back madly, revealing large, terrifying patches of white. "He has gone mad," she said indifferently, as if stating a fact unrelated to her. "That is good too. Saves trouble." She clapped her hands lightly. 2 strong servants immediately responded and walked in, carrying a cage cast of black iron. "The master has lost his mind." She watched as he was roughly dragged and stuffed into the cage, the iron chain locking with a clack. "Just stay here and calm your mind to recuperate." As she turned to leave, her steps paused slightly, and she whispered instructions to the servants. "Take good care of him. Do not let him die too easily." 3 years passed. The Pure Teeth brand founded by my mother had become famous far and wide, with branches flowing across the north and south like long rivers. In those years she kept her word, teaching me all the survival tactics of the inner courtyard, but she always stroked my hair at the end. "You must understand these skills, but do not let yourself be trapped in a corner of the inner courtyard. The world is vast, you must step out." The night before my coming-of-age ceremony, I walked alone into that dust-covered courtyard. No one stopped me. Pushing open the half-closed door, a hoarse roar immediately rang out from the iron cage. The person who used to be my father was banging his head against the iron bars, making dull thuds. Seeing me, his cloudy eyes suddenly lit up, his skinny arm desperately reached out between the iron bars. "Vivi, father's good daughter, save father quickly." I stood still. The moonlight shone through the window bars, illuminating the layer of rust growing on the chains. "Your mother, she is crazy." His voice trembled, fingernails scratching the iron bars. "She locked father here. Let father out." I slowly approached the iron cage. Under his expectant gaze, I pulled a brand new copper lock from my sleeve. Click! The sound of the lock snapping shut rang out piercingly in the silent room. He froze in place, his pupils contracting violently, looking at me in disbelief. I turned and left without looking back once. Unknown to me when, my mother was already standing waiting in the courtyard. She asked nothing, only gently placing her hand on my shoulder. "Tomorrow is a major event. Vivi, sleep early." I looked up and gave her a sweet smile. "Yes, mother." This story serves as a chilling reminder that the human heart, once betrayed, can transform from a sanctuary of love into a fortress of cold calculation. Edward's downfall was not caused by bad luck, but by his own arrogance and cruelty. He treated those who loved him as stepping stones for his ambition, failing to realize that a broken trust is the most dangerous weapon. True strength lies not in manipulation, but in integrity. When you sow seeds of deceit and malice, you inevitably harvest a life of isolation and ruin. Ultimately, justice often arrives not with a roar, but with a silent, patient and unbreakable lock. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share Raccoon Tale to help more stories come to life. See you in the next tale.